Well, back to the big time tonight, Natalie and Mark. A whole lot of horses and a few races make it a wee bit awkward for you. But I'll just start with you, Mark. It's your first up with American Pride. Not as easy to drive as Freddie's Audi. I wonder if you get the drive of that, if he keeps back galloping at the start. But did you have an excuse at the trials the other day?
Not really. It was just a little bit fresh and probably one of those situations. If I pulled the tapes sort of 2 seconds earlier, he probably would have been all right. But so just a little bit fractious. But following him away tonight, I do expect him to begin.
Yes, that would be a big factor. And if he begins, of course, he's going to be very hard to beat. Oh.
Yes, he would be hard to beat, Dave. He seems stronger this time round. Still quite big in conditions, and the run will do him good. But I think in saying that, he'll still go very good.
While we're on trotters, Enhance Your Calm looks ready to win at a very early stage. He seems to be trotting solid. You're very happy with him?
He's trotting very solid, as good as he ever has trotted. So he'd certainly be disappointed if he made a mistake tonight the way he's trotting at home. So it'll be interesting, but he should go close.
Might as well stay with you for the first of the youngsters, Darling Miss. Looks a very talented filly. What about taking on the males? And first up, Darling Me, how do you rate her?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting race, and she certainly probably looks, one of our best fillies. So she'll be there. There's probably a couple of the colts I think may be too strong for her, but she's a very nice filly.
Yes, and they'll bring in Natalie at this point with Pace and Pride. I know you've always liked little Pace and Pride, and you're happy with his trials?
I've been really happy with him, Dave. He's a green little horse, and the experience of doing well. Drawn where he is, probably expect to be back a little bit. But look, he's a lovely little guy it's a big learning curve for him. So I expect him to run a good race, and if he first 5, I'd be thrilled.
I think he'd get better than that, wouldn't he? Being a bit. One thing about that run is the draw you have, that you'll probably get a drag into the race, or maybe do the dragging into the race. Is that the way you see it?
I hope I don't do the dragging into it. Now he's a very petite little horse, and I just don't know how strong he is at this stage. So ideally, if I could drive him with one run at him, that probably would suit, just for where he's at. But hey, we'll just see how it happens, Davey.
How do you rate some of the others? I mean, I know they've all got potential and they've all got talent, and they look as if they're working up pretty well. How do you assess, say, a horse like Rock Legend with Blair's driving? Natalie?
I really like Rocky. Probably if I wasn't driving Pride, I would have driven him. He's quite a strong horse, I think. He's a big casual guy, but he does seem to have a big motor. He wants to do his work, and he wants to run, doesn't he? He's a lovely horse. Yes. But from out there, look, it's a bit awkward from where he's going to act, where he will end up. But in saying that, tonight's a big learning curve for him, and I'm sure he won't disappoint.
And Aladdin seems to like to be sent along a bit. He's a possible leader, or a horse will be on the pace?
I'd say he'd be on the pace. I'm not sure about a couple that are drawn inside him, but he's got that high speed, and if Tim asks him to come out, I think he'd probably cross most of them. And
where do you rate Samra, Mark?
Well, he's another nice little horse too, Dave. Most of them are in the same boat. This is a step up from their trials, and it'll just be interesting to see where they all find themselves. But they're all there, and there's some nice horses amongst them. But probably if you were to single out the better 3, you'd probably say Aladdin, Pace and Pride, and the filly.
Yeah, seems logical. And we've got Major Moose, of course. A couple of them drawn wide, which are not going to help. Probably benefit from the experience.
That's right, and probably be better driven quietly and there to win. But if things don't work out, we'll look after them, and there's always next week.
Yeah, and to move on to smaller fields with less numbers, Selfassured obviously going to improve a lot with this, but the ability will carry him a long way. Would you expect him to be winning first up?
I don't expect him to be winning, and the small fields always can be funny run races. You'd probably think they'll be in single file most of the way until the business end, but Yeah, they're always a little bit tricky, small fields, so I wouldn't put my head on the block and say he'll win first up, but I'm sure he'll go very well.
And Princess Tiffany, Natalie, well, you haven't been far from her this time in working trials, and so she must be pretty well ready to go on her trial at Ashburton.
Dave, she is. She's in a good place. I just think, you know, she has to step up as a 4-year-old mare now against the open company boys. You know, she's that grade and there's no mares races for her class. So she's sort of thrown in there. But look, she's done nothing wrong this time in. Her work's been good. Her trials are good. She's fit and ready. So just same as Mark said, small fields are a bit awkward sometimes. So it just depends where we all settle down. But she won't run a bad race.
And another masterpiece, possibly the Darkhorse of the field. I mean, at one stage you were considering sending him to Auckland, so he must be pretty forward. Could he upset them, Mark?
Yeah, well, he possibly could. He's a stallion now, and you know, sometimes they carry a little bit extra weight inside, so he's just in the same boat as the others. They're ready to go good races, and they're good enough to be there. But yeah, I wouldn't. You wouldn't make any prediction because you don't really know how it's going to be run.
Well, I can't get a tip in a 6-horse field. I'm struggling a bit, so I'll move on to one that I can surely get one, and that's it's all about faith. Looks pretty well forward, Mark.
Yes, we were very, very pleased with his training run at Addington on Tuesday.
Most impressive.
Yes, he just can get on the chewy a little bit, and that'll be his downfall. But if he goes out there and behaves himself, probably expect him to be too good for his opposition.
He would be, would you rate him the best of you or not?
Well, if he behaves himself, he
If
would.
behaves himself.
Yes, on his training, it's been very good.
Yes, and do you have a preference on yours, Natalie? You've said you haven't really studied the form up as much as you might have.
No, Davey, not really. I think they both run a good race. The little guy, you know, it's a learning curve for him. He's there to win, but he's just probably drawn, you know, second row. But he's a lovely little horse with a lot to learn. And the filly, or the mare, she's a good mare, but, you know, stepping up against the boys isn't always easy, but she's fitting well. So, like, I wouldn't say I'd prefer either one of them. I'd probably prefer to be staying home, quite honestly.
Okay, well, good luck both of you. Thanks very much.
Thanks.